was a heavy immigration of Italians, Irish, and other ethnics, obviously, during the 20s, before the 20s, in fact. And they all settled in various areas in the city, but there was a heavy concentration of Italians, Jews, and Irish in Chicago's near West Side. They called it the Maxwell Street area at one point in time. And the old timers that were merchants, bakers, various other type of merchants, were all victims of what they call the Black Hand. Now, there were old timers, the old country, who by their terrorism and threats to kill and maim the families of the individuals and terrorize them by even putting bombs in the windows and whatnot, to get what we now call a street tax, but in those days a form of extortion, so they could live.
But these were activities that were not uncommon in any American city in the United States. It just happened to be Italians in which you can give it a name, Black Hand, and it's mystery. You know, there's a mystery behind it. But extortions and like that and killing the people of that manner or harming merchants to try to get them to give you money is nothing new in American history.
Get these criminals behind prison walls. It's too bad that we even have to pay for their support. Their extermination would be much more satisfactory.
Already these rats are running for cover. And it's the duty of every law-abiding citizen to help hurt them from the hiding place and see that when caught, they are treated what they really are, rats.
Now, Al Capone became a folk hero because according to the legend, when he came into power, he put the Black Hand out of business, and his troops, by murders, threats, and violence, and being stronger, put them out of business.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we go to work and get this here work, we'll go wide to work. If it wasn't for our friend Al Caponeo roughing up this here White House on 935 South State Street, we wouldn't eat.
I appreciate this soup. On a Sunday and a cold day, soup is very hot. For these poor men here, I enjoyed myself.
Why, sure, all these poor guys here are just naturally hungry and starving now. Look what Capone's doing for these poor guys. He's doing all this himself.
And then, of course, Capone became the big man in Prohibition. He controlled the booze, he controlled the cops, he controlled the mayor, he controlled a lot of politicians. Prohibition, I believe, went into effect in 1919, and it was never a popular law. Chicago never was dry. The Prohibition didn't work in Chicago. It was a fun place, and as a matter of fact, it still is. Hell, they had speakeasies in every corner in Chicago. I mean, if you wanted to drink, there was no problem.
It must have been pretty strange for an Italian coming to America to say these people are making it a crime to drink alcoholic beverages. That's a pretty good business to get into. In a sense, Prohibition created organized criminal activity.
Well, the location of Chicago, being in the Midwest, and the population being high, it being a central city. So they had a lot of bootlegging here, and they imported liquor and the condiments to make beer from other cities. Detroit was one great place, and through Canada, where they managed to obtain a great deal of the needs to put together their alcohol and their beer, which is nothing to get excited about, from what I understand, in taste.
And all over Chicago, they had great big signs, boys wanted. So I got to a place at 22nd and Halsted Street, jumped off the streetcar and went into this office. I went to the personnel department, and the personnel man said, "Well, what is your name?" He says, "My name is Tony Berardi." And he replied, he said, "Gee, Tony, we're sorry, but we're completely full. We don't have any openings at this point, but we'll call you." As I walked out, there was a man about 5'6" or 7", and he said, "Son, did you get the job?" And I said, "No." He said he didn't have any. He said, "Well, you wait right here." And he went into the personnel department, and when he came out, he said, "When do you want to start to work?" I said, "Now." He was Capone. Well, that's the first. I was 14 years old then. That is the first time in my life that I knew anything about prejudice. And we're known then as Dagos, Wops, Guineas. Well, that's why a lot of young Italians became good fighters. I belonged to a gymnasium by the name of Silvio Ferretti, a nice Italian man. And we used to box in his gym. And later on, when the first time I ever photographed him, he remembered me from this gymnasium. But at one point, he was not posing for pictures. He and his gang beat up a lot of photographers. But of all of this that ever happened, he never touched me, never even threatened me. Used to call me the kid. And also he had one hell of a political clout. By that I mean that he was very influential with political people, with the police department, and he had house of prostitution. And of course, that's how Capone learned his trade. He learned the trade from Colosimo and Johnny Torrio.
Colosimo was a nightclub operator and was involved in bootlegging. And also, contention was that he was involved in prostitution as well. And he is the one who imported Al Capone and John Torrio, who was a heavyweight, much heavier than Al Capone, to Chicago to be his top honchos.
Well, Johnny Torrio was related to Colosimo. And he brought Al Capone, which at that time he was probably 19, 20 years old, from Brooklyn. And I think that he brought him in as a bouncer. And of course, Colosimo, not only did he have a fine restaurant, some of the best people in opera, in the musical world, in the show people, business people, they all went there because it was a place of fun and good food.
According to the legend, it was Al Capone who set up Colosimo and knocked him off, in their vernacular, killed him. Had somebody hiding in a cloakroom. In fact, I once went back and did a story, a newspaper story, by a feature story looking for the cloakroom, and I had a man point out the cloakroom where the man hid when Colosimo came into his place of business, which was, I believe, on Wabash or 22nd Street, in that area anyway, at least.
Now, whether he killed Colosimo or not, that I don't know. But they did get rid of him. Johnny Torrio was in the very beginning, he was the boss. And Capone was his right-hand man. And then he started learning the business, and then when he got to the place where he thought he knew the business, he got rid of Johnny Torrio too. They killed him. They almost did, but they got him out of Chicago. But you see, Capone had one hell of an organization. He was a great organizer. If he'd have been in a legitimate business, he'd be a success. Not only did he control booze, he controlled gambling, prostitution, bookies, which took care of gambling. He didn't discriminate. He got the Jews to take care of that. He knew who to pick for certain jobs. Greasy Thumb Music, he was head of the bookie organization. And then they had a guy by the name of Mike the Pike Heitler. He was head of the prostitution. He was trying to get bigger than he thought he was. They found him burned to death, and they tied him up in a car in some resort up in Wisconsin. They poured gasoline all over the car, and they put it on fire. Machine Gun Jack McGurn was known throughout the country. Now the story goes that he joined the gang because somebody had killed his father. His father did some little bit of bootlegging, what they called kitchen bootleggers, and they killed his father. And he swore that he would find whoever killed his father, that he'd kill him. He was an Italian, and most Italians who were boxers in those days took Irish names.
Yes, yes. Changed their names, and you think it'd be all to help their employment or acceptability with the Irish promoters of boxing preferred Irish crowds. And so Frank Sinatra's father changed his name to Slapsy O'Brien. You know, Frank Sinatra's father was a welterweight fighter, and he fought under the name O'Brien.
Capone started out that there was no doubt that he was going to be the king of Prohibition, and he did. He was going to get rid of anybody who tried to get in this business.